Here's the full 5-minute transformation of everything we did to remodel this 1930s kitchen completely by ourselves and with almost no experience. If you don't follow us yet, we're Nick and Liv DIY, and we love taking on projects that are out of our comfort zone, like this house. Almost everything in this house was original to 1930, so we decided we'd take it to 2022. Because we were teaching ourselves as we went, it took almost a full year to do this whole house, but honestly, we were still pretty proud of ourselves because we did it while working full-time jobs. My favorite part of every project is the beginning because I love the demo and bringing everything back to a blank canvas. We started by removing the cabinets, which a lot of people wanted us to keep, but if we're bringing it to 2022 and making it modern, they just weren't going to work. Then we found out the wall was actually covered with this weird canvas-like wallpaper. It was super satisfying to remove, and it actually covered the entire room. But under it was mold in some places and the original lath and plaster, and that wasn't going to work. We couldn't have mold in our house, and the lath and plaster was cracking in a lot of areas, so we knew that was going to have to be removed as well. If you don't know what lath and plaster is, check out our previous bathroom remodel. I explained it a little bit better there. After the cabinets were out of the way and that top canvas was removed, it was time to remove this top layer of linoleum flooring. Now, there were like 4 layers of flooring, and under this top layer was plywood, so we just decided to keep the plywood because we didn't even want to expose what was under that. It looked like it was in pretty rough shape, even though it was negative for asbestos. We just knew that would mean there was going to be a small step into the kitchen like there was already. Then it was time to remove this wall that was separating the small nook in the kitchen between the rest of the kitchen. We knew that this would open up the space in the kitchen and make it feel larger. We removed the rest of the cabinets in the sink and all of the walls, which was the lath and plaster in the rooms and the laundry room next door. The cheapest option for us was to open up the floors so then the professional plumbers that we hired could come in and easily replace all the plumbing in the kitchen and the laundry room. We also ended up doing LED recessed lighting and all new electrical in the kitchen because the old was getting a little bit sketch. At this point, we felt like we had a pretty blank canvas for the kitchen and could go ahead and start doing the drywall after getting it nice and clean. Now, we're obviously not professionals with drywall, but we were getting better, and so we decided to go ahead and start putting in all the new drywall, and it was going to take a lot of mudding to get all these walls and the ceiling looking nice. In most of the room, we did drywall directly on the studs, but in some spots we did something called overboarding, which is a thinner sheet of drywall that we put directly over the lath and plaster and screw into the studs. The benefit of this is not having to demo all of the lath and plaster and still being able to have a smooth piece of drywall on the outside of the wall. You'll see here in a second where we did the overboarding on some of the walls and the ceiling, and this whole room will look like fresh new drywall. We then came back in and taped and mudded all of the ceilings, walls, and everything to give it a nice smooth surface and ready for paint. This took multiple coats and multiple days. Ultimately, we were very happy with the results and glad that we did some of the overboarding instead of just having to demo everything. We had to give it some time to dry out, sand it down nice and smooth, and then it was ready for paint. I kind of skipped over the cabinets, but we did this custom design for our kitchen and had someone we know that installs them professionally. We had everything masked and ready to paint, but before that, I wanted to go ahead and install crown molding to match the rest of the house. Once the crown molding and trim was all on, it was time to paint. We did 2 different coats, one coat of Kills primer and then another coat of satin, and the color was called Polar Bear. Once all the painting was done, it was time to do the flooring, and we were going to go with this black hex tile by Riyadh, but before that, I wanted to install this Schluter Ditra underlayment, which will help the tile and prevent it from cracking. There are other benefits to using Ditra, but I'm not going to go into those in this video. It's a really simple process, and if you're more interested why I used it, you can go to Schluter's website for all the info. Once all that was done, it was time to do the backsplash. Now, we were using something called Muscle Bound and a white Carrara marble mosaic from Riyadh Tile. If you haven't heard of Muscle Bound, think of a double-sided tape, but way stronger. Now, you can just put that all across your wall, and some people will say it's better to use thin set. I've used Muscle Bound several times, and I really think it's meant to last. I made a template of the wall out of cardboard and then used that to cut all of the tile, and it was time to start sticking it into place. I have several videos on Muscle Bound if you're interested, but I wanted to test it with this heavy mesh, and it worked extremely well. You put it on, it sticks to the wall, and then you grout it just like you would a standard tile. Once the backsplash was installed, grouted, and sealed, it was really starting to pull the kitchen together. We also had the gray quartz countertops installed professionally to match everything. The black hex tile that we ended up using on the flooring is by Riyadh, and it is extremely simple to install as well. Since we're going for a more modern look, we wanted the blacks and grays and lighter colors to all complement each other well, and then we went with gold hardware and lighting to match. I then installed and painted some 6-inch baseboards and then put in some modern lights throughout the kitchen. We put in the new stainless appliances and everything was now complete. Between all of the different projects in this house, it took almost a year, and so it's been really cool to see the entire process come together in just a 5-minute video like this. As you can remember, the kitchen was in pretty bad shape before, and it's amazing to see what it looks like now. We've posted several of these 5-minute videos already and have several more coming, so make sure to follow Nick and Liv DIY.